All right, Anzac Day, let's go there. It's coming up obviously on April 25. For most Australians, it's the most sacred day of the year, a time to pause and reflect on the service and sacrifice of our military. For over a century, they've defended our country and our values. But just like Labor's move this year to allow public servants to protest against Australia Day by shifting that public holiday to another day, it seems Anzac Day too has been caught in the crossfire. Shadow Minister for Veterans, Barnaby Joyce, in the Parliament this week.
Will the Prime Minister overturn his government's recent decision, which now allows public servants to boycott the Anzac Day public holiday and substitute it for another day of leave out of protest?
And here's the response from Labor.
If they actually want to draw a line under that because they think there's some sort of culture war to raise questions where none should be asked, then they may well want to go down that path. But for their 9 years, the same provisions applied.
Now, Labor is saying that's been the case for some time. Is that the whole story? Well, let's see what I can tell you, because I know you've contacted me and you really care about this issue. Joining me now, Shadow Assistant Defence Minister, former Army veteran, of course, Phillip Thompson. Phil, I made the point, I've been contacted by a lot of my viewers through my Sky email. They want to know who's telling the truth here. What can you tell us?
Well, I can say that it is an absolute disgrace that we would see any government or anyone say that someone can protest Anzac Day and boycott it, because Anzac Day is not a public holiday to have a day off. It's a day to remember and reflect on the brave men and women who've served our nation, who have fought in hard wars for the freedoms that we enjoy here today. I've buried friends of mine who have died in combat. I've buried friends of mine who have died from their war within. And Anzac Day is a day where this nation should pause, or everyone should pause and reflect on the freedoms that we have because of those brave people. And I'll continue to prosecute with the Shadow Veterans Affairs Minister and also the Veterans Affairs Minister and outlay my concern of anyone or any public servant or anyone around the country who says, I want to boycott this day, because it's not a day for every day off, it's a day to commemorate our bravest.
Just on the detail though, is it right that when the government moved to make that change in relation to Australia Day, they somehow caught up Anzac Day? May have been inadvertent, but they certainly did. And if that is the case, why not decouple it? Why not put Anzac Day back in a situation where it cannot be used for the politics that we've seen Australia Day used for?
And you're 100% right. It shouldn't have been coupled. But to be honest, I don't think they should have done that for Australia Day. Australia Day, I don't think. Yeah, so I don't think they should have done that. They've politicised Australia Day, and now they're politicising Anzac Day. They've coupled it together, and I think it's a disgrace. And I think that the Minister for Veterans Affairs, when he was asked the question, turned extremely red and got very hot under the collar and didn't really know how to answer the question, and Tony Burke had to come in and save him. It's my view, and it should be the view of the majority, I would suspect, that Australia Day and Anzac Day should remain those days, and it should be a day where we, on Anzac Day especially, commemorate and reflect on hard-fought battles that we now, today, can live the freedoms that we have. And for them to couple it together, I absolutely think it's a disgrace, and I think they should come out and clarify their position instead of running some more political games of what we're seeing.
Well, let's keep the pressure on them. We'll do it here on Sky News, but I'm sure you will in the Parliament too, that they can fix this. We've got a couple of months to go, but let's fix it before we get to Anzac Day. I've got to ask you, the compensation arrangements for veterans, talk today they'll be overhauled. They'll try and consolidate 3 pieces of legislation into one. I do like homogenous legislation. I do like it in one place. It can be hard and difficult to work across multiple pieces of legislation. But often when you combine extant acts or existing acts, you can create more problems than you solve. Are you being consulted here, given your background as a vet and given your role in the Parliament? Is there the consultation? Is there the bipartisanship that we'd want to see here?
Sort of. I went and sought out Minister Keogh today and asked him some questions about their plan and what they'd like to do. I do think it's very complex. It took me many years from when I had claims going, from when I was wounded in Afghanistan. It wasn't quick. It took years. And so my suggestion to Matt was, this has to be easier, but I don't want any veteran worse off. It can't punish people, but it also needs to be able to outline very succinctly on how it would be more beneficial and less complex. But like any government, the time for telling veterans what they want is over. It is a time to use your ears and ask what they need. And this is a consultation phase. I'll work with the government, as well as the opposition and the crossbench and everyone in the country that want to put forward their suggestions with this, because the governments need to be quiet. This is the time to listen and then develop a robust legislation that supports our veterans, because tens of thousands of people are in the backlog and people are dying at a rapid rate. I spoke to a mate just before and he informed me of a friend of his that has just died by suicide, and you could link a backlog and a delay in claim process to it. And it's disgraceful, it's disgusting, it is a failure on multiple governments, and we need to be better to support our brave men and women.
Well, thank you, Phil. I think a lot of veterans are happy there that you're talking to Matt Keogh, and hopefully you can work together. Thank you for your time. Good luck with the consultation. We'll stay across the issue. Phil Thompson there.